When no one is clapping for you, you're building the man in the dark. When no one is watching, but God's watching. You start investing in yourself. You start taking responsibility. You start taking extreme ownership. There was a season in my life where I looked the part, but I wasn't living it. I used to blame everybody for not having any success, my bank account not looking where I wanted to be, not having the things in my life of fulfillment and purpose is because there was no progress. I was making no progress in my personal life because I thought what mattered was when I was in public, when everybody else looked at it, that I looked good, social media looked good, but in my private life, I needed to take responsibility. Welcome to the Young CEO Podcast. I'm your host, Kropf. I went from making $250 per week with no purpose to leading a multi-million-dollar business. Now, I help faith-driven entrepreneurs build businesses that honor God and create real freedom. This podcast was built to equip you with practical tools, real stories, and a reminder that you're called to lead starting now. John Maxwell says, a leader knows the way, goes the way, and then shows the way. Let's be clear, being a man in today's world isn't being about being bossy, alpha, a leader. It means doing things in the dark. It means taking responsibility. That's the thing that I want to talk about today is being a man in your home, being a man in at your job, in your personal life, taking ownership in your own life. And this one hits home for me because I had to grow up learning how to be a man, learning how to take responsibility, learning when no one is clapping for you. This is what I've learned is when no one is clapping for you, you're building the man in the dark. When no one is watching, but God's watching. That is what happens when you start taking ownership in your own life, you start building your own life up, you start investing in yourself, you start taking responsibility, you start taking extreme ownership, and you stop blaming everybody else for the mistakes that you've made, for the excuses that the reason why you don't have a good family, the reason you have good relationships. It's because you're not being a man and you're not stepping up and taking leadership and ownership of your own personal life. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I want to say that quote again. John Maxwell says, a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. It all means taking responsibility of your own life. There was a season in my life where I looked the part, but I wasn't living it. And I know that resonates with a lot of you guys. You can make social media look good, but is your personal life, is the life when you go home and no one's watching, how are you living that life? Are you saying, hey, I've got good habits, I go to the gym, I eat good food, or the behind the scenes when no one's watching, I'm doing none of those things. In public, I treat people good, but when I go home, I don't treat my family like the man that I should be, or I don't treat them with respect. That is being a man. It's taking responsibility. It's taking ownership in your own life. I remember a moment where I had to take extreme ownership is doing a business. You know, there's a lot of times when you can blame other people, but when you have to step up as a leader, you have to take responsibility because I believe that leaders are not in charge of the people. They take responsible for the people that are in charge, in their charge, right? I think that's a John Maxwell quote as well. Going into this about being a man is, I know a lot of you guys just want to grow up. You want to grow up, but you don't know what the steps to take. And I want to do three teaching points today about real men and their outcomes. So in 1 Kings 2:2, it says, be strong, act like a man, and observe what the Lord your God requires. When you build your life on kingdom obedience, you stop blaming and start building. A lot of you are blaming. I used to blame everybody for not having any success, my bank account not looking where I wanted to be, not having the things in my life of fulfillment and purpose is because there was no progress. I was making no progress in my personal life because I thought what mattered was when I was in public, when everybody else looked at it, that I looked good, social media looked good. But in my private life, I needed to take responsibility of a couple of things. Teaching point number 2, leadership starts with self-discipline. Write that down. Leadership starts with self-discipline. You don't deserve to lead others if you can't even lead yourself. If you can't lead yourself to the gym, that you have no reason to tell someone else that they need to go to the gym if you can't go to the gym. You don't need to tell someone else that, hey, you need to start taking ownership if you can't even take ownership. John Maxwell says, you will never change your life until you change something you do every single day. I always say this, what you don't change, you choose. Let me say that again. What you don't change, you choose. Every day that you're not doing something, you're not changing, you're choosing it. Here's a real test. Are you leading yourself in private or are you just performing in public? I want you to write that down. And this week, write down the standard you're choosing to live by daily. What is your standard? What is your core values? I know Malachi came and asked me, what are the core standards that I live by every single day? What is that core standard for you? Write that down. Thank you guys for listening to the Young CEO podcast. If this episode has helped you in any way, if it is helping you become a man, I want you guys to subscribe to the podcast, send it to your friend, and like always, like the podcast. And always, thank you for listening to the Young CEO podcast.